Should we talk about that event just north of Paris? I think a crowd of something like 10,000 people. So he's drawing the crowds. You would expect him to have a ring of steel around him, but I suppose persevering activists can get close to him, and they did.
Actually, I was at that rally because I was very interested to see how he would perform, which he did quite well. And I also could not help noticing that he's got a skeleton staff and he had extremely nice young men and young women as sort of doing security, and they were absolutely not prepared for that. I must say too that because he got so many people to sign in for the rally, they were moved by order of the prefecture, but also because they could not fit the 15,000 people who signed in. Finally, there were about 12 or 13,000 in the hall, so they moved from an arena inside Paris to a large convention center, a huge convention center for big fairs, next to Charles de Gaulle Airport at Villepinte. And they did not really prepare for this. The security services were twice sort of surprised by what was going on. If the man who attacked Eric Zemmour and grabbed him in a headlock and sprained his wrist badly had a knife, he would have killed him. The scuffle at the back, nobody heard. It looks very dramatic on the pictures, partly because it was next to where the press pen was. So you had 180 journalists and many cameras taking pictures. These were extremists who'd come to sell their newspapers of Action Française. It's an extreme right group. And when they saw the people from a leftist group come in, put on T-shirts saying no to racism and start chanting slogans, they attacked them. It lasted a few minutes. There were no seriously injured people anywhere. There was somebody who had a cut on her forehead, but everything talked about massive violence, and it was not the experience from inside the lobby. It was not the experience from inside the hall. Nobody heard it, and it was not the sort of the mainstay of the day until people went out and listened to the car radios or got alerts.
Yeah, that will accord, Anne-Elisabeth, with the experience of a lot of journalists, I think, who've covered events like this. And often the story as represented is very different from the story as experienced by those in the hall. Nonetheless, I wonder to what extent you think he will use big rallies like this. He is someone who has built a reputation, has come to international prominence on the back of TV talk shows. Is he good at this sort of thing? How different does that make his pitch to the French electorate by doing these big rallies?
The most intriguing thing in the past 10 days was that he had a rally in London which basically petered out. It was not terribly good. It was very quiet, very nice. It may have got to do with the kind of crowd that you get in London. You know, the French who move to London are usually well-to-do, very different. This rally was a success. The people were happy and he was excellent. And that was the first time I saw him on a podium, and you can watch his speech, which is an hour and 13 minutes on YouTube. And the speech was very well written. He delivered it well. It was the first time people heard him deliver a speech so well. It was much more inclusive than the previous ones. He said, I hold out my hand to the French citizens of Muslim confession. We want them as brothers and citizens and not as foreigners in the country. So that was really something pretty new. It was not really picked up by the news once again, whereas he has actually flunked a very important television interview last week. He was on the equivalent of Newsnight in France, and he fumbled it. I mean, it was bad. He was attacked by the presenter, but usually in television debates he's very good, and on that one he was on the back foot. So we don't know how that is going, but I'm pretty sure there will be rallies across the country because he's got fewer supporters than Marine Le Pen in the working classes, and he needs to win them to get anywhere near the second round. And right now, the new polls have actually given extremely good numbers to Valérie Pécresse, the candidate who won the primaries of Les Républicains, the French equivalent of the Tory party. And she is even shown in one poll as winning the runoff against Macron. This is very big news, and Zemmour has got to sort of up his game if he wants to be anywhere.
And very briefly, Anne-Elisabeth, is there some evidence that he has, whatever else he achieves, Zemmour has pulled the centre-right a little bit further rightwards?
That's absolutely amazing because in my piece in the Telegraph today, I list all sorts of really firmly right authoritarian policies, including a French Guantanamo and expelling from France binationals who commit crimes and stripping them of the nationality. And these are not from Zemmour; they are all from the various candidates at the Conservative primary, and they've also been endorsed by Valérie Pécresse, most of them. So that is a huge change in the political discourse.